So let's discuss effects channels. Right now in my session, I have two effects channels set up. And what I want to do is I want to kind of walk you through like how we use them, the way the channels are set up inside of Pro Tools. And if I kind of just group these together a little bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to point out a couple of ways that this is set up. So the main vocal is actually reporting to a vocal master bus as a submix. But then additionally, we have a reverb for snare, a reverb for the vocal, and this slap delay for the vocal. Now, I have a couple of other options as well, just for effects, so you could see them. But let's talk about the routing real quick, and then we'll just kind of show you what's being done inside of it. So if we just take a look at this, my snare verb, if we start with it, is set up to be routed to bus 1, 2 as its input. So if we go to find our snare drum, which is over here in our mix window, we can see that at the top, or it's kind of in the middle, we see our bus 1, 2 routing, and this is our bus 1, 2 send. So basically routing the send from the snare to the reverb channel. I'm not putting the reverb directly on the track. Let's take a listen to what's being done, and then I'm going to solo it so you can see. Okay, so this is the snare dry with no effect, and you can see it being routed to bus 1, 2, and I'm going to open up the snare verb. Now we're going to over accentuate it at the beginning, kind of to set it up. Right now I'm just using an H verb. We could use anything if we decided, we just want to use a stock D verb or reverb lists. This is the Pro Tools option of reverb plugins. We could use a couple of different things. We could try a room, something not too heavy on decay. And we want to make sure that the effect is all wet, meaning 100% wet, and that means 100% effect on that channel. And you can see it's not very dominant, and part of the reason is, there's two reasons. Well, our fader here is at nominal, but our other one over here is actually turned down, so it's not super strong. We could turn it up just a little to kind of get a better sense of what's taking place there. Notice if we tuck it away, you kind of don't hear it, but we have some options. We can make the room seem smaller, which is essentially going to make this decay go faster. And we could pull the decay pretty fast or pretty long. And a lot of times we just kind of want it to be able to clear before the next hit. Now, these different types of options here in the reverb a lot of times also change in terms of tonality because of what they're being modeled after. So sometimes we'll notice even if we really hit the same decay size, we're really doing other things that are happening inside of that reverb that are audible. So let's just take a listen to the difference between a couple of these, and then we'll pick one. And I want it a little bit accentuated so it fits in the mix. Like you can still get it in the mix, but let's just see. I'm going to open it up and see what it's like. I'm just going to pull a little bit of that high so it's not too bright. Okay, good. Nice and a little natural. So you can see there's our original sound source over here in the snare. Here's our effect. So then I have another effects channel over here. This is specifically for the vocal. Let's listen to this for a second, then I'll bring in the vocal. Sorry, there was an additional delay on there. I think this is the verb. And with the reverb on this one, we're using this H verb. Really, we're looking a lot at what's happening with the time. Now, there's times where you kind of notice it feels a little too big. You can kind of hear it just getting a little too big in the overall size. And that's where this kind of size option comes into play, and something we can adjust for. And then I'm going to open up a delay. Now this is our delay. So, we built an effects channel for the delay. It's separate from the reverb. There's a couple things we can do with it. We can try different delay parameters.
Drinks and laughs and all the photographs that make me wonder.
We tuck it back in. Now, the whole idea here is just kind of making effects channels and giving them their own space. But what's brilliant about having an effects on its own channel is the manipulation that can then be done to the effect. So, for example, let's just say we go back to this reverb. Because it's on its own channel, we can give it its own EQ, build its shape. In this instance, we're just removing a little bit of low end. But we really could do other things, like give it a band pass. You can kind of hear where some of that energy exists down low. And in the same way, when we open up this slap delay, we could bring this up. We could also focus this energy as well. I'm just going to reset this. Just bring it up just enough to hear it. I'm loving, baby, drinks and laughs, all the photographs that make me wonder. Let me kind of focus that energy. And that's it. I think some of the wonderful benefits that we really get with these effects channels is control and being able to manipulate them in a kind of an isolated way, just specific to the effect. And that way we can really tailor our effects. I think one of the things that we always have to be mindful of is by bringing in an effect, we are introducing more gain to that specific frequency range that's being used, whatever the source is. So we just kind of have to be mindful of the fact that we will have to control that, because a little bit, an overabundance of frequencies resounding in a specific area are actually not great for the mix. And they might actually make it unclear. They might actually make it more ambient and less distinguishable. And unless that's what you're going for, then we kind of have to like tailor and cut and make some really wise decisions. The other thing is we could also shape different sections of our song to have different tonalities with the effects. To be able to do that, we need our effects channels to be separate channels.